Now the Sony ZV-E10 is a pretty cool little vlogging camera. I was actually surprised by how much I enjoyed using it so far, but I noticed that it isn't perfect. So I came up with 10 accessories I think you should get for your Sony ZV-E10 to make it even more perfecter. By the way, links to all the items that I'm gonna be going over will be in the description below. So if you wanna check out the items a little bit more in detail, follow the links in the description. The first item I wanna go over is the SmallRig ZV-E10 Cage. Now what this does is it essentially provides you with extra mounting options on the top, the side, and the bottom. One of the cool things was this is actually really easy to install, and they even provide a little magnetic key on the bottom. This is to screw it in, and then it attaches with magnets and it just stays in there. So you're never without the tool to remove this. It lives with the cage. I thought that was pretty smart of SmallRig to include that in there. It includes a little bit more of a beefy, chunkier grip to the camera when you're holding it in your hand. It feels really strong and secure. It's rubberized, which I really like, and it allows you to add some extra lights or mics or any other accessories you might want to on the outside as well. Now there is one other pretty amazing benefit that I got from using this that we'll get to in a little bit. The next thing that you're gonna wanna pick up, extra batteries and a charger. The battery life on this camera isn't fantastic. You're gonna need a lot of these little things. I've been using some of these off-brand batteries for a while on several cameras. I've always been hesitant about using off-brand, items, especially batteries, but I've been, completely happy with the performance of them. They're pretty much the same exact thing as you would get with the manufacturer's batteries, like the Sony batteries. They're just cheaper, so pick some of these up, you'll need them. Speaking of power, one thing that I highly recommend getting, a USB power supply. If you're gonna be shooting in an indoor setting like this, it's a good idea to get one of these USB bricks. It just hooks up with a USB cable to the USB-C connector on the camera, and then this will give you much more time of shooting than the batteries. I was shooting something in the studio recently on the ZV-E10 and the battery died in the middle of the shoot and it was kind of annoying. I had to swap batteries. This will make sure that you don't have to do that. I've used this on my ZV-1 and on the ZV-E10. It works great. Pick one of these up. I'm a big fan of this one, particularly from Anker. I love all of Anker's stuff. They make some great products. They're pretty inexpensive, high quality, and they're reliable. The next item I think you really should get, and I think anyone should get this, not just people who own, a ZV-E10. I think everyone who makes video content or even photo content needs to get an Aperture MC Light or a few of them. I did an entire video on these lights recently. I'll put a link to that video down in the description below so you can see these a little bit more in depth. It is a really cool little LED light that has incredible amounts of customization. You can change the colors, the color temperature, intensities. You can drive it with an app on your phone. And I have a few of these that I use around the studio for shooting, and they have been absolutely fantastic. Aperture makes some of the coolest lights for the industry right now. They're always on the leading edge of new tech, especially when it comes to LED lighting. And I really, really highly recommend getting some of these. They are fantastic. Now the next one's kind of a no-brainer. You're gonna need an SD card to shoot on. The SanDisk Extreme Pro SD cards have been my favorite cards since I've been shooting photos for, over 10 years now. They're great, they're reliable, I've never had any problems with them. SD cards are pretty inexpensive, so that's why I recommend getting these Extreme Pro ones. I got the, this is a 128 gigabyte, so I have plenty of space for all that 4K videos because those are big files. I've been using these for a long, long time and they're great. The next thing that you should get for your Sony ZV-E10 is an onboard microphone. Now I've done several videos where I've talked about this particular one because I love it so much. This is the Rode Video Micro. From the amount of performance that you get for the amount of money that you spend on this little microphone, everyone should have this little thing. It's great, it's super compact, it has great audio, and it comes with a little wind muff, and it just goes right on top of your camera. and it's just a fantastic little microphone, especially if you're vlogging around. Just so you can hear the difference between the onboard mic and this one, let's take a look at a little sample. Okay, so this is what the onboard microphone sounds like on the Sony ZV-E10. It's not a bad mic, it's decent. This is typical sort of vlogging distance, I suppose. It might be a little reverby and echoey because I'm inside and there's some hard surfaces sort of reflecting all the sound. But this is a pretty good representation of what the onboard microphone sounds like. Let's switch over to the Rode Video Micro so you can hear the difference. All right guys, so this is what the Rode Video Micro sounds like on the Sony ZV-E10. It should be a little bit more rich and full. It's a little bit more directional, so you won't be picking up as much of the ambient sound. And yeah, it should probably sound significantly better. Pick one of these up. So you hear the difference between the onboard mic and this little Rode mic? That's why I really think you guys should pick one of these up. It's probably one of the most important things that you should get if you're gonna be vlogging around, especially outside with this wind muff. It's fantastic. They're very inexpensive and just amazing. All right, moving on. We've got a brand new, as of the recording of this video, gimbal from June. This is the Crane M3. Now I've been using the Crane M2 with my Sony ZV-1 for a long time, and I love it. It's very compact and lightweight, easy to travel with. This thing is as well. It's a little bit chunkier, a little bit beefier, and it supports a little bit more weight. It feels stronger, and you can really tell like you have a lot more control, and it just feels a little bit more rock solid in the hand when you're using this thing. I love it. It's got some extra features on it that are really neat. It's got a little LED light on the front here that helps you light up if you're in a dark area. It's very easy to balance, and just all around a fantastic gimbal that I've only been using for a day or two now, but I can already tell it's a huge step up from the M2. Now this is the point where we get to talk about the SmallRig Cage from earlier and how it really came into play when I was attaching it to the gimbal. The extra mounting holes on the bottom allow me to offset the plate for the gimbal, and when I attach it to the gimbal, it leaves me a little bit of extra space between the joint of the gimbal and the camera body. Now, if I had just attached it to the thread on the bottom of the camera, it would have been basically flush to the edge of this, which probably wouldn't inhibit movement all that much, but it might. And it certainly, having it offset a little bit gives you more leverage and leeway to balance it if you need to shift it in any direction. If it's flush up against this, that's it, that's as far as you can go. So that SmallRig Cage really came into play when I was attaching it to the gimbal because it gave me those extra mounting options. The Crane M3 from June, it's fantastic. If you're looking into getting a small compact gimbal to travel around with for all your vlogging needs, whether you have a mirrorless camera or a small SLR, this thing is amazing. It really is cool, and I think you'd really enjoy it. This thing is absolutely bananas. It is the new Mantis Pod Pro from PGY Tech, and this is not your average tripod grippy, handly, vloggy thingy that we're all used to using, like the Jobby pods and things like that. This does expand into a little tabletop tripod. It has different modes, like a low profile mode. It even has this little extra leg underneath for what they call, like their Mantis mode, which allows you to hook this onto ledges and fences and things like that, and it'll support your camera from up there. And it has just a bunch of other really cool configurations and modes for all different kinds of shooting scenarios. I did a full video on this one as well, so link for that video is down in the description below. Be sure to check that out so you can see what this thing is capable of. It's incredible. Seriously, one of the coolest little things that I've seen in a long time. Who would have thought that this would actually be something that you could make better, but PGY Tech, you did it. All right, so let's talk filters. Now the ZV-E10, if you get the kit lens with it, it's a 16 to 50 millimeter lens, and you can put 40.5 millimeter filters on the front of that. Now, a lot of you that have been watching the channel for a while know that when it comes to filters, I'm a big fan of this brand called Earth. Now, the reason that I always go with Earth filters is their mission is to plant trees for every purchase that you make of their products. Amazing, right? Like my channel, Remain Wild, is all about generating some income to support wildlife and habitat conservation. If you're not subscribed, please do that. It helps the channel grow. I will be donating a portion of money at the end of every year to different conservation projects for wildlife and habitat. But Earth, they plant trees for every product that you buy from them. They make fantastic, high quality filters for cameras, and they've also started making some bags and pouches. So make sure you go check out Earth's website. They've got great stuff. This is not sponsored by Earth or any of these other brands, by the way. I just want to make that clear. But I love their filters. They're great. Make sure you go pick some of these up. I got some ND filters and some polarizer filters. I'll put links down in the description to check all these out. If you're interested in getting some filters for your cameras, please support Earth and their mission to heal the planet, right? We all need a little bit of that. Now, since we're on the subject of optics, let's take a look at the very next thing on the list, and that is this lens, the Sony 10 to 18 millimeter lens. Now, this might be one of the most important things for you to get for your Sony ZV-E10. One of the problems with the Sony ZV-E10 was it didn't really fix that complaint that we all had about the ZV-1 where it wasn't wide enough, right? So on the Sony ZV-1, we had a 24 to 70 millimeter lens, which isn't a great focal length or focal range for vlogging. So on the APS-C sensor camera, the ZV-E10, they gave us a 16 to 50 kit lens. Well, on an APS-C sensor, that's about a 24 to 70 millimeter lens. It didn't fix any of that problem we had. This 10 to 18 millimeter f4 lens changes all of that for you, okay? It is a little bit pricier than most of the stuff that I showed you today, but this is probably the one thing that you're really gonna wanna get for your ZV-E10 because it fixes that focal range problem that we had with the ZV-1. This will give you a much wider field of view. Since it's 10 to 18 on the APS-C sensor, it would be a 16 to 27, is that right? I'm so bad at math. Yes, that's right, 16 to 27, there you go, math. Okay, so 16 to 27 millimeter focal range on your ZV-E10 from this 10 to 18 millimeter Sony lens. So definitely consider picking one of these up. It's fantastic, it's super sharp, it gives you a much wider field of view for your vlogging on your Sony ZV-E10. And if you want to see a full in-depth review of this lens and its performance, follow this link right here and watch that video next.